So my story is I went from unconscious and filled with fear to being the divine messenger. My journey to becoming the voice of the Akashic records. It's a time now when it feels like the world has gone mad. The angels are blanketing us with messages of love and support. They want you to know you've got this and they've got your back. And today I chose this background to show you that the angels have my back and your back. They are always with us. There is great hope for the future as the light workers of the world surf the cosmic wave of transformation to fulfill the prophecy of Earthtopia. Now, you may not know what the heck I'm talking about. What is the cosmic wave of transformation? What is this Earthtopia thing? I'm going to tell you all about that. But first, I want to start at the beginning because it's an important demonstration of the power, the awakening that we're all going through right now. And if you've been feeling afraid, that's normal. Everybody is feeling something. But what the angels want us to get is that when we lean on them, when we have faith and trust and let them guide us to make the best choices, there's nothing to be afraid of. When you've got these massive angels and you have a massive team, there's nothing to be afraid of. They've got you. The only thing that could happen is you could die, and that's not going to happen until you're ready to leave your body. So it's go with the flow, be in the joy, trust your angels. So for me, this journey began when I think about it, when I was a 21-year-old newly divorced mother with 2 children living in a city hours from my family and friends. I was overwhelmed. I was afraid all the time, and it had always been that way. It felt like I was out of step with the rest of the world. Like everybody knew something that I didn't know. Anybody out there can relate to that? I thought I was alone. And that's been one of the revelations of this journey, is finding out now lots of people are going through what you're going through. And that's an important thing for all of us to remember. I had no idea what to do about this being afraid. One day, out of nowhere, and I didn't usually hear voices, but this voice boomed out and said, "You're always hiding." It was like God was calling me out on my fear. I really didn't know what to do about that, so I just kind of let it simmer. And then decades later, everything started to change when I bought my horse, Misty. Now, if you heard my previous talk at Circle, you might have heard about Misty, or maybe you read the book. I bought her, shipped her across the state to New York, brought her to Brooklyn, was so excited to have this horse, my dream horse, and then everything went wrong. I devoted an entire chapter to her in the first chapter in the Akasha Unleash the Missing Manual, my book, but I'm going to give you the abbreviated version because we've got a lot to talk about. So the short version is Misty got injured, she was in pain, and it seemed like she was intent on killing me no matter what I did to help. It got to the point that people were encouraging me to put her down before somebody got seriously hurt. But I wasn't ready to give up on her or our dream. So finally, in desperation, I took an animal communication course, hoping that maybe there I could learn what she needed. Thanks to the work we did in that class, Misty was able to express herself. She talked about some past memories, being separated from her mother, and the trauma she had went through. She was afraid all the time, too. We were a perfect match. That work that we did in the animal communication course led to her being able to heal and the beginning of a great partnership. And you know, the only thing she asked of me was that I keep her for a long time. That was over 20 years ago, and we're still happily together. Now, the rest of the story, this was the unexpected part. Taking that course opened up my latent psychic gift that I had forgotten all about, never really understood anyway. And it turned out to be the catalyst that led to my life pivoting in a very dramatic fashion. Not long after that, I started having flashbacks of talking to Jesus when I was 4. And now I finally understood why I always had this deep connection to him, even though my parents weren't churchgoers. So now, all because of my horse, this spiritual journey was on the fast track. In a very short amount of time, I discovered the Akashic records. I learned about my soul schematic and that it was ideally so suited to researching and teaching others about this boundless resource, the Akashic Records. I had found the Holy Grail, my sole purpose, and it was sheer bliss. I wasn't afraid anymore. In the very beginning, Jesus served as my guide. And then one day, he morphed into Archangel Metatron, who was the overseer of the Akashic Records. And that's when the work really began. It was Metatron who gave me the title of Voice of the Akashic Records, which felt like some really big shoes to fill, but he's been gentle and guided me along the way. And for that scared little girl, he took me in his big arms, embraced me, and flooded my senses with so much love and confidence that fear was banished. You know, I don't even recognize the former version of myself. It feels like it's an entirely different person, because today I'm Deborah 2.0. And with the angels on my side, there's nothing to fear. That's true for me, and it's true for you if you allow it to be so. Is this all making sense? I hope. Hang on, I lost my place. So that began this relationship of working with Metatron, which has been an incredible honor. And I want you to know that Metatron is available to all of you. When I connect with him, the love that comes is just beyond description. It's all encompassing. It's overwhelming in a very good way. It fills you up so that there are no more empty spaces in you and gives you that confidence that you really can come forward to be who you came to be in this world. So now that you got the picture of how I was called to be the messenger, let's talk about what the Akashic Records are, just in case there's anybody who doesn't know. So you might think of them as this ethereal database containing every detail about you since you were created. They encompass the past, the present, the future. And because time is not linear in the fifth dimension, it's like a layer cake where they're all housed. So picture this. Creator is the central hub of a network, big central hub network. Every soul has their own Akashic archive, which is like a node on the network. We're all connected that way. So this means that through the archive, you and every other soul in the universe is connected in a divine network. In fact, this is where the concept of the internet came from. Somebody tuned into that concept and created it here, grounded it on Earth for us. So the Akashic Records are your birthright, and you are entitled to complete access. It's just a matter of practice to develop the language to communicate with your team. Inside your records, you can find answers to any question you could ever think of. Now, because we humans are very complicated creatures, we've each been assigned a personal team consisting of masters, teachers, enlightened beings, spirit guides, and angels to manage the archive and to assist us. And that team is Legion, also eternal. As the sovereign authority of your life, you have free will to create your reality. Universal law dictates that your free will is sacrosanct. That means your team is forbidden from interfering with your choices. They can nudge you, they can inspire and encourage you, they can drop hints, but they can't choose for you. But if you ask them for help, they can work miracles on your behalf. You might think of them as your beck and call team available 24/7. Now, the angels will tell you there are no brownie points for doing things the hard way. So give yourself a break and let them do the heavy lifting. Ask them for help with anything and everything, because it's impossible to ask for too much. You are their entire reason for being. Every one of us has our own unique archive. Every one of us has this massive team. And when Metatron told me they were Legion, I said, okay, so what's a Legion? And he said, well, it's upwards of 20,000, give or take. That's how much it takes to manage we complicated beings, to help us get through and to serve out our purpose in this world. Massive. So after all these years of working with my team, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that all of this is true. If it's new to you and you're having a little trouble accepting it, it's okay. just flow with it. When I first heard this stuff, I was kind of like mind blown, and I'm not sure. I'm a very big skeptic myself. They've got to prove things to me, but they have demonstrated it repeatedly. And now it's just a part of who I am. It's woven into my being. And it can be that way for you. You can live your life in a state of Zen bliss as you walk daily on your journey with your angels, living your purpose, if you choose to allow that. So give yourself time to process, then test and experiment as you find your way into a two-way dialogue with your team. You really can do it. Now, if you need help to accelerate your process, there's a whole step laid out in my book, The Path to Hearing Angels and Guides, 21 Days of Meditation. That came from Metatron to help us because we are in this time where the light workers are all being called to step up now to serve their purpose so that we can get to Earthtopia, which I'm going to tell you about in a little bit. So that's a quick overview of the records, and I'll be taking questions in a little bit if you want to know more about it. But I want to move on and cover the cosmic wave of transformation. So in 2017, I channeled a message from Archangel Metatron that he called the cosmic wave of transformation. This message foretold the next evolution of humanity, our ascension into fourth dimensional beingness, the journey to Earthtopia, also known as the Great Shift. So I'm expecting most of you have heard about the Great Shift and maybe had some concept of what it was. So since 2017, Metatron has been fleshing it out and dropping dribs and drabs as we're ready to accept it. And you'll find a lot of that on the YouTube channel because I share everything I get. So he explained it's not going to be an easy journey because there are dark forces intent on maintaining power and control. But in the end, light will prevail. Our success is guaranteed. The only question is timing. So as light workers, we're asked to spread a divine message of love light from one person to another, like a positive infection, so that geometric progression will carry it until we reach a critical mass of light workers joined in common purpose to facilitate the prophecy. Now, Metatron went on to explain that many souls are planning to exit the planet because they don't want to go through this shift. It's not going to be fun or easy. We can learn to surf the wave, or we can get bowled over by the tsunami. Now, at the time I received this message, I had no idea that the cosmic wave he was talking about would come in the form of a pandemic. But in hindsight, that's exactly what it was. The pandemic came and it facilitated a great many souls exiting the earth. It was just a convenient way for a lot of them to go at the same time. Now, in the meantime, light workers are being encouraged to raise their vibrational frequency through regular connection with their Akashic team. Over time, with all of this encouragement, some of them have built up a strong foundation of faith, trust, and confidence in the guidance that stood them in good stead to get them through the pandemic. And now the chaos and the turmoil that some days threatens to knock you right off your feet and into the pit of despair. So in the years since the original message, Metatron continues doling out guidance to help us. And he's been talking about getting your sea legs. Well, we've been doing that. And now it's all about don't give in to the fear because it's coming at you from all directions. And some days it can feel overwhelming. But when that happens, pull back, call upon your angels, let them come forward, embrace you, fill you with faith, hope, love, and confidence so that you can fulfill your purpose because you came with a mighty big purpose at this time as we are going through this evolution. Now, the next part of it, he's encouraging us to come into oneness with soul, higher self, and ego, because the time of separation has passed. Oneness with ourself and with others and the planet is where we're headed. Gone will be the days of hate, bigotry, and war. Replacing them will be a common purpose of love and respect for one another as well as for Gaia. Now, take a deep breath because if you haven't already heard this news, it might be a little bit of a stunner. In June of this year, our reality shifted into the fourth dimension. Mind-blowing, right? Did you know that? I didn't know it until a month later when all of the pieces started coming together because it was a subtle shift. We're at the very beginning of the shift into 4D. So over time, the process will accelerate and changes will become more obvious. If you felt things like maybe kind of like being in and out of your body at the same time, or like you suddenly stepped into a parallel reality, that's part of what's going on. There will be more of it coming. So what about Earthtopia? Through the years, I have asked many times about our timeline for reaching Earthtopia. Because there are so many variables, the answer has been likely in this lifetime. And that's nice to think of, but that's always somewhere out there. Finally, in July, Metatron jokingly said it might happen as early as 2028. Again, mind blown. Hopefully it'll come soon, but that seems way sooner than is even possible. And yet it is. He went on to explain it won't be a huge shift all at once. It's going to be a gradual transition, a lot like what we're experiencing now with the 4D shift. So massive incentive for us to step up to the plate and hit that grand slam sooner than later. Glory, hallelujah. It is something to get excited about. Of course, that timeline can change depending upon our efforts. It can happen sooner or later, which is, again, incentive for us to all come forward and put forth ourselves towards this purpose. So it's all about living your purpose more fully and connecting with your Akashic team, which is a lot of angels, along with all those others, regularly. Together, we will surf the cosmic wave of transformation all the way to Earthtopia, and that will be a glorious day.